Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, all race fans from all corners of the globe. We are live on the Elite Racing Network for round 2 of the 2024B Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series. As you can tell by the race title and the scenic shots before you, we are at World Wide Technology Raceway in virtual St. Louis, Missouri. But of course, we are not at the regular 1.3 mile oval. We are in fact traversing the 1.6 mile infield road course tonight for our first road course race of the season here in the Elite Racing League Truck Series. I'm William White. David Huckleberry is in the production booth with Matthew Weeks, two-time Cup Series champion and two-time Daytona 500 winner, alongside me in the booth. How are you doing tonight, Matthew?
I'm doing good. Ready to watch the real beginning of the season to start tonight.
We saw a wild one at Daytona that ended with a barn burner finish with two new podium sitters as well as another repeat winner to start off the season. So it was a good start for many at that first round at Daytona, but a bad start for many playoff contenders from last season as well. Looking to bounce back, you see the schedule on the right hand side of your screen. Obviously, Ty McIntosh, as we mentioned, won last week at Daytona. We're here at the Gateway Road Course tonight for round 2. Darlington, Kern, and Atlanta make up 3 very challenging races to make up the next handful of rounds. So it's important to make up the points while you can, as the regular season end closes in very quickly. Qualifying is just concluding now with, I think, only a couple of minutes left on the clock, but drivers will still be setting times. We're not quite at the gridding process yet, Matthew. I know you're not really a road course ringer as such as maybe some of these other guys in the series, but what do you know about road course racing? What do you think is the most important kind of key to victory for these guys tonight?
It's going to be all about getting on the brakes on the corner entry and not spinning yourself out and being patient. You want to stay on track. You don't want to go off track. All about being smooth and being consistent.
Definitely consistency is key at the road courses. Smoothness is the name of the game. Qualifying has officially concluded, and this is your starting grid for the Bendy Gateway 100 at the Gateway Infield Road Course. And it's Leighton Norgard with his first pole position of the season. Won the Grand National Series race on Monday night at Daytona. Is statistically the winningest driver so far this season across all Elite Series. He's got the best seat in the house for the start, looking to add to his tally of wins this season. Matt Gruenberg will start alongside him in the 17. It's 7-time champion Tyler Foti in the number 40 machine with James Miller on his outside in row number 2. Chad Frankenfield, multi-time champion, Truck Series champion in the past in the 15, will start in 5th. Dylan Havere for Lake Norman will start in P6. Past IndyCar driver in real life Richie Hearn will pilot the 73 with Michael Hossack in the number 24 in 8th, with Gerald Campbell, past Cup Series champion, having Hector Colazzo on his outside rounding out the top 10. Joe Francis will have Jesse Racines, reigning Truck Series champion, on his outside in row number 6. Jake Scarborough makes P13 for Shift Esports with Race Clark for the new AVBW team. Got a podium on his debut in Daytona. We'll see if he can match that from back in 14th. Gavin Higgins Starts 15th with the 2000 NASCAR Busch Series champion Jeff Green on his outside. Zach Evans and Jordan McAvoy make up row number 9 with Matt Hackathorn, and Do Good Motorsports' Dustin Dewar rounding out the top 20. The last few cars on the grid: Austin and Abnett in 21st, and Jaden Racimus, son of Jesse Racimus, in 22nd. Donald Kite and Cody McCorkle 23rd and 24th. Connor Thompson, Zachary Trevino 25th and 26th. Matt Telder, Frank Foti 27th, 28th, rounding out the top 30. Seth Rawls, Chris Wright, Caleb Thompson, Caleb Bakuma, Brent Jones, Raymond Hanneman, Sam Boutwell, and Josh Adams are your drivers from 31st through to 36th, with the last few drivers being Mitch Havere, Randy McAvoy, Dustin Haynes, and Andrew Hardcastle, making up your 40-car grid for this evening. The drivers already making their way through what would be turns 3 and 4 on the oval. It's turn 8 on the infield road course. It's going to be a Leighton Norgard leading them to the green flag for 63 laps, 100 miles around the infield road course at World Wide Technology Raceway, one of the premier sponsors of the Elite Racing League, a staple circuit for many, many years in the league. And Leighton Norgard has the best seat in the house alongside Matt Gruenberg. We're coming to the green flag now, trying to get the best reaction that you can into the restart zone. Bonnie the flagman waves him to the green. We're going in gateway. It's Matt Gruenberg with the better reaction over Leighton Norgard. Leighton Norgard does have the advantage of the inside line there. Tyler Foti having a look at the 12. Norgard defends well, but around the outside looks Matt Gruenberg. He had a better start off the line, has the run out of the corner. Matt Gruenberg looking to take the lead, but not with the best exit. The 09 of Miller gets all kinds of twitchy as he manages to take Foti on the outside of turn 3. Foti down to 4th, but Leighton Norgard holds the lead.
As we're coming into turn 6, looking at Dusty Dewar making a move on, I can't see the number on the red truck mid-pack, but he's kind of marching his way through the back of the pack, moving up. Leighton Norgard, starting on pole, running well too. And these AV guys, I don't know where they come from, but they have come into Elite strong, starting on in the front as well.
They've definitely shown their hand early. It's coming out of turn 8 for the first time of 63 circulations. It's Leighton Norgard that leads with Matt Gruenberg in hot pursuit. James Miller there in the number 09 in 3rd place. Managed to take Frank Foti through the left-right chicane of turns 3 and 4. Back into turn 1 we go. You already see a bit of a difference in line. Matt Gruenberg with a slightly wider entry allows him to get on the power a little bit better, but Norgard just looks a little bit better through the middle sectors here. Really getting on that curve, maybe a little bit too much for Norgard. Loses about a 10th worth of time. Gruenberg and Miller really putting on the pressures now head through turns 5 and 6 through a very long turn 6 before they head onto a little straight before turn 7, where they will emerge for the second time in the lap onto the NASCAR and IndyCar oval. Out of turn 7 we go now. Leighton Norgard just trying to keep it smooth, trying to keep it out of those tyre barriers into turn 8. Obviously a lot more full throttle than it would be on the oval configuration, but still a challenge for these drivers with that banking. Leighton Norgard, though, despite the pressure from Matt Gruenberg, looks to be running well with minimal mistakes.
The track looks challenging. I mean, it really looks like it's hard to put the power down, man. These trucks it's really a handful tonight.
Definitely a handful. A challenge for these drivers, as road course racing in any stock car is always a challenge. With the amount of horsepower you have at your disposal, getting that rear kicked out too much can definitely be a challenge, as you see there with Dustin Dewar back in P20, almost falling victim to that. So you have an AVPW 18 and 19 with McAvoy just trailing Hackathorn there. You see Dustin Dewar there facing a little pressure from behind him there. That is the number 88 machine just trailing the P20 machine, Dustin Dewar, as everyone begins to get into a single file line. No massive battles emerging except for the lead. While we weren't looking, Matt Gruenberg has taken Leighton Norgard, and now James Miller looking to get round the outside of the 12 through turn 8. You would have to imagine there's been a mistake out of the 12 machine that's allowed Matt Gruenberg to already get half a second clear of Miller and Norgard. Norgard just about has the inside into turn 1, trying to claw back that advantage, has the preferential line going into turn 1, almost into the side of the 09, as both these drivers pushing it to the absolute limits here. Miller with the slightly better run out of turn 2 is going to have Norgard concede that position, and in just a matter of a few turns, Leighton Norgard pole sitter and long-time leader down to third.
Man, these trucks are all over the place, but what a great pass for the lead to get by both those trucks. I think he was running third before he took the lead out of turn 7 there, and he made a good move. Bodie's looking like he's charging up to take P3 here. Chad's moving up as well. He seems to be running these guys down. Oh man, that was close right there. This James Miller's running pretty well too. It's another guy I don't know much of, but he seems to have some pretty good speed on these road courses as well.
James Miller, a rookie in the series, very much unknown coming into the season, but I think a lot of people start to know his name, especially on the road course side of things with the run he's having right now. Leighton Norgard, though, definitely ruining some early errors as he's now down to P4. Tyler Foti's managed to work his way past the 8 machine as a big dive bomb there from Hector Colazzo in the 3. Managed to get his way up into P6 ahead of Dylan Hervé, now sets his sights on multi-time elite champion Chad Frankenfield there in the number 15. Ford F-150 as Leighton Norgard takes another swipe there at Tyler Foti, trying to get back past, but that might have him fall into the clutches of Chad Frankenfield. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, tyre wear is a factor at these road courses. If you get those rears too hot, they will begin to really lose grip. We're going to look on an instant replay here at Mitch Javier in the 58, just entering turn number 1, just behind Andrew Hardcastle. Might have just overcooked it a bit and into the grass and into the wall with a fairly hefty whack there. Manages to keep the truck rolling there, Matthew. But early trouble for Mitch Javier, as we're going to see more replay trouble for Lake Norman Motorsports. The 59 of Caleb Bakuma with some trouble heading into turns 3 and 4. And that's a big spin. Manages to get it out of the wall, but we're really seeing early doors here, Matthew, that this track is a lot more challenging than it seems to the naked eye.
Definitely. I've seen quite a few trucks go off the track tonight. I've ran a few laps in practice earlier, and it is a challenge. I was struggling trying to get a lap together. I've seen Hosak had a mistake just a few laps ago as well. I mean, it seems to be rough out there on these drivers.
We saw Brent Jones there on the replay with a little half spin. Jaden Racines, this looks dramatic. Drops it on the entry into turn 1. Holds the brake. Manages to keep it on the black stuff, on the tarmac, but loses a good half dozen positions for it. Thankfully, with no cosmetic damage to the number 1 machine. But you see now, leader Matt Gruenberg really starting to stamp his authority on this race. Looks very, very smooth in that number 17 at Yellow and Black Premier Racing Setups Chevrolet. Lap 7 of 63. They've already got a tenth of this race done, with laps only just shy of breaking the 60-second mark. Really means that they tick off quickly here, and you have to make your moves while you can, as opportunities are few and far between. And when those opportunities become so sparse, you really have to rely on others' mistakes, which is why the likes of Matt Gruenberg and James Miller rise to the cream of the crop. As Leighton Norgard, I think, just made one too many mistakes at the beginning of the race, and he's now down in P5 from pole. Have to work hard to get those positions back. But Matt Gruenberg definitely shining in these early laps, as he looked very mistake-free in these early stages.
Yeah. Excuse me, man. These guys are just running. It's going into turn 1 is scary, and how them top 2 guys are running, I don't know how they're doing it. There's battles all through this field. This track is really putting on some good racing.
They most certainly are, as it's a very challenging road course. You see on the track map there in the bottom right, it seems fairly unassuming. Does the Gateway infield road course, much like, kind of like the Daytona road course, like a little mini version of that, when you see how turn 1 kind of mimics turn 1 at Daytona. But when it's only a couple chicanes and a long right-hander before you go back onto the oval, it seems fairly unassuming, especially for being a flat track. But as you ride on board here with race leader Matt Gruenberg, you see that they're carrying some fairly significant speed into these corners, and with how heavy these trucks are and still the fair amount of horsepower they have behind them, it makes spinning a real possibility, both under acceleration and under braking. See through turn 8. Why don't we take a lap with Matt Gruenberg and just see exactly what it's like for these drivers out there starting lap 9. We'll take a hot lap with Matt Gruenberg, race leader in the 17 Chevrolet. Coming down all the way from 4th gear, you're coming down to 2nd gear. Try to brake in as straight as line as you can, so you're not going to spin it under braking. Come in for a late apex, get the best exit you can. out of turns 1 and 2. You're heading into a quick left-right chicane, drop down a gear, try to use all that curb, especially through turn 4, as too much of it can unsettle the car. It's a fine line that you have to balance through turns 5 and 6 now. Very similar story to 3 and 4. It's a quick chicane for a very long turns that you have to be patient on the throttle. Matt Gruenberg doing a good job at that through turn 7. This is the last corner before you come back onto the oval. Second gear, crank the wheel hard to the left to get the car to turn before again being careful on the accelerator. You see, rising through the gears into third gear, just a tiny lift on the throttle through the oval as you're carrying a lot less speed through turn 8, and already back on the power. Very smooth, very mistake-free lap from Matt Gruenberg. And that, I would say, Matthew, is why he's leading tonight and so comfortably, as he's really looking clinical out there.
Oh man, he looks so smooth just running around this track. For a guy that, I've never even seen run on here, he looks like he does this all the time. And looks like Tyler Fode's getting into that lead little by, well, he lost a little time right there. But man, he's just so smooth running around this track. It's so slick, and he's just making it look easy.
I think patience on his right foot is what's helping Matt Gruenberg, as Miller as well. Really doing a good job at keeping touch with Gruenberg there. James Miller in the 09, all the way from Canada as well. We've got a few Canadian drivers, hence the very patriotic Tim Horton scheme, as that's the 76 there. Going very, very slowly as Dustin Haynes now officially lapped down and missing a front bumper. You'd have to imagine he has had a pretty heavy accident, but he does not take the pit road this time. Trying to continue, whether by mistake or otherwise, the 76 continues on with very heavy damage. As we see another replay of Mitchell Javier. We saw him run into some trouble earlier in turns 1 and now entering turn 3. It's another self-spin for a Lake Norman truck. Manages, though, to keep it going. A decent save there for the 58, only with some grass on his tyres. But Dustin Haynes really has encountered some major trouble, as he is now the first truck 1 lap down. Matt Gruenberg, though, still leads. He's not pulling away by miles and miles and miles, but the Tim Hortons machine certainly keep in touch, looking equally as smooth.
Yeah, it looks like Miller's just a little better in the infield of the track. And then the big corners, turn 8 and turn 1 and 2, it seems like Greenberg is a little better, and he gets that time back. And Fode's like is pretty much even with those guys. I bet Fode's probably just sitting back there saving his tires, just like he's a master at this, and he's just chilling and waiting to pounce on the 2 liters.
He knows how to win on the road course side of things. Does 7-time champion Tyler Fode. We know that he's good at these tracks, as here comes Richie Hearn looking for a move around the outside of turn 1 on Michael Harsack. That's brave. Harsack defends well to the inside, manages to hold off the 73 for the time being. That battle will continue to rage on as they head through the infield here. It's lap 12 of 63, almost reaching the 1/5 portion of the race, as we've got another instant replay here. This is Jaden Racines in the 1 truck. We'll have to see if that's any misfortune, but falling the 1 as it is. A little bit too heavy into turn 7 on the brakes. You saw the back end kick out. The 60 of Austin and Abnett initially does well to avoid him, but in doing so gets on the grass, has a spin of his own. Unfortunate for those 2 drivers, but Richie Hearn definitely putting the pressure on Michael Harsack. That is a battle that we'll be keenly watching further back. That's Race Clark there in the 07 in P13, looking to try and pounce on the 52 of Jake Scarborough. 2 trucks in very close proximity to one another. Race Clark had a brilliant debut at Daytona. Got P3 behind teammate Brady Smith on an AVPW debut, as Andrew Hardcastle now working his way past, I believe, that is the number 36 machine. That is Donald Kite there for Robbins Racing. Andrew Hardcastle up to P29 as Kite looks to be struggling a little bit, as does the Hanneman behind him in the 85. See Josh Adams there splitting the pair in P31. So you're starting to see, as Matthew, you mentioned, the track really, really slick and very, very greasy, as we're seeing maybe a bit of beating and banging for position. Dustin Dewar blinking out. A bit like some Houdini magic going on there with the 32, as the 25 of Seth Rawls has now worked his way past the 32, but not without some Harry Potter magic from Dustin Dewar. He's lost a place for it, and now up into position I think number 12 roughly, I think, is Seth Rawls there. So Ticker cycles by up into P19 there. He overtakes Dustin Dewar for 19th position. Is further behind them. This is Jesse Racima's Connor Thompson heading into turn 8. A bit of a dive there from the 30 into turn 8. Jesse Racima's though doing well to hang on. As these guys, as you mentioned, obviously very slick. They're doing a decent job at it, but the challenge is definitely showing.
Definitely. It looks like Chad's gained some spots. He's up to P4. Norgard, I think he overcooked his tires a little bit the first 2-3 laps, and he's paying for it right now. Campbell's up a couple of spots, up to 6. There's quite a few guys moving up through the field that have some pretty quick times.
Definitely, it looks like it's a challenging circumstances where it looks like the veterans or the experienced on the iRacing service are definitely rising to the crop, as it were. You're focusing here on Gerald Campbell there, running in P6, a very strong run for the aggressive Eagle driver. You remember last season's road course races, we had a couple, one of them being Sebring, where he claimed the podium at his home track, and this is Donald Kite and Sam Boutwell into turn 1, and that has ended in tears for the 36. Just spins around as a pirouette. Sam Boutwell tags the 36, but looks like without too much major damage as Racimus and Hardcastle filter by. But turn 1 definitely looking like a sort of pressure point, a choke point for big mistakes. You're carrying a lot of speed in 4th gear. You have to try and brake in a straight line as possible. It's a trail braking corner where you brake too late or you brake too off center, you're going around in the braking zone. So definitely troubling some drivers out there as Gruenberg and Miller continue to fight. We've got a bit of a hornet's nest, if you will, in and around the top 10 as Hector Colazzo has lost a few spots down to P11, and again I think we're seeing why his tyres might just be a little bit cooked on the number 3 machine. He goes off the track. Scarborough and Clark all filter past him as Colazzo now toes to pit road there, whether by intention or not. Colazzo immediately now scored P37, so what looked like a strong debut run for Colazzo has gone very, very much awry for the number 3 machine, as the battle between Scarborough and Clark still rages on there. It's another fight for P11 with Colazzo's dropout here, and actually the fight for the lead. We've yet again, they've snuck another lead change on us. James Miller has got past Matt Gruenberg, and Tyler Foti's now in on the action as well, all within a second.
There's a wreck on the backstretch. Got a car around. Sounds like multiple. I just keep hearing cars wrecking everywhere. But yeah, we missed the lead change. I've seen that the 17, he probably burned his tires a little too much right there when he took the lead. The other guys, backed up, saved, and now they're pouncing. I seen Foti's putting pressure on them. It seems like tires come into play big time here. That surprises me. I didn't think they would.
Definitely, tyres seem to be more of an impact, or more of an impacting factor than we initially anticipated to see. Frank Foti, and just before him, Seth Rawls, as into turn 5, that is. Frank Foti just spinning, manages to get that car righted, but not without scaring a couple of drivers behind him there as they all duck to avoid him. But now, James Miller leads for the first time tonight. Matt Gruenberg now occupies P2, Tyler Foti in P3. Now we've got a big train led by Gerald Campbell there in the 00. Richie Hearn, you see there in the 73, as well as Dylan Havir and Joe Francis there rounding out the top 10. They're all 15 seconds off the lead, but they are very much consumed in their own battling. We'll see if anyone is able to make a move, as Scarborough and Clark now have both caught up to this gaggle of trucks. This is now essentially a 7-way scrap for 6th places. Down the inside of Dylan Havir goes Joe Francis into turn 7, a mistake out of the 57, a mistake out of the 07. Race Clark too heavy on his right foot. There is Scarborough as well. Filters past Dylan Havir. Shift Esports profiting from a Lake Norman mistake. They're both up 1 position each, as here comes Michael Harsack with a decent run out of turnout. I think he tagged the wall though. That's going to stall out all of his momentum as Gerald Campbell can breathe for a little bit, as Michael Harsack putting the pressure on just makes the tiniest of mistakes, and that could put him into the clutches of the 73 of Richie Hearn. Campbell still trying to hold on, had a good run at Sebring last season, scored a podium in that race, looking again to continue that good road racing form. Is just behind them. This is Zach Evans we're focusing on in 15th, a good run for the Ford driver just behind Gavin Higgins, just in front of the 48 of Matt Hackathorn, as there are battles everywhere, all up and down the track. And we're just seeing on the ticker, Matt Gruenberg down to 5th, as we're looking at Dustin Dewar, as well as the 4 machine as well. Dustin Dewar's gone around in the ultra long turn 6 there. It's just about managed to be avoided by the trailing pack. But I do wonder, David Huckleberry, do you know what's happened to Matt Gruenberg? Because he's now down to 5th, 13 seconds off the lead. That's not quite enough for a pit stop. So he potentially has made a mistake there, which has allowed Frankenfield and a Leighton Norgard to get back up into P3 and P4. Here it is. You see him running second. Tyler Foti just behind him. Down the inside into turn 6 goes Foti. Gruenberg does give him the room. Just goes a little bit off the track there. That is the point where Foti took P2 from Matt Gruenberg. And potentially in desperation to take the position back, do we see a mistake out of Matt Gruenberg? Out of turn 7, not this time. They're coming up on the 09 and the 85 through turn 8. Potentially holding up the leaders just a little bit. This is, of course, a replay. We're trying to see exactly what happened to Matt Gruenberg. That's lost him a couple of spots. As Tyler Foti filtering past the 85 of Raymond Hanneman. Is it a mistake into turn 1 for the 17? He's braked way too late there. Has Matt Gruenberg completely overcooked it. I think he missed the corner entirely. Went into turn 1 of the oval there, which is why he lost about 13 or so seconds righting that ship, and that would explain exactly why he is down into P5 and why Tyler Foti now has a lot more breathing room for that P2. We'll see from the perspective of Leighton Norgard and Chad Frankenfield as they came by through turn 1. Matt Gruenberg, I think, had completely missed the corner as they're just running 3rd and 4th through turn 1 with Gruenberg nowhere to be seen. So definitely interesting. There's Gruenberg just coming into the picture now. I think he completely missed the corner. Had to maybe reverse back onto the racetrack. An uncharacteristic mistake from Matt Gruenberg, and it's cost him dearly. He has lost 2 positions and he is going to have to climb a proverbial mountain to get those 2 positions back, because we now officially are a third of the way through this race, Matthew. We've seen a lot of mistakes from a lot of quick guys, and it seems like consistency and just being mistake-free is what's rewarding drivers most out there, as opposed to outright pace.
Oh, definitely, man. Even when I show up to these tracks, I'm just like, as long as I stay on the track, I'll finish top 15, top 12. Because as the people don't know who are watching, these trucks, you know, Xfinity car, these things are so hard to drive on a road course. They are so difficult. And I feel like the trucks are one of the hardest ones just because they slide everywhere. It's just a weird feeling with these things. And once you heat up these tires, you pay for it until you get new tires on.
I think definitely, judging by, obviously these guys won't be able to make it completely on fuel. These guys with only 2 sets of tyres at their disposal, 1 on the car at the start, 1 in the pits. You would have to imagine that at this point, with very overheated tyres, that these guys are just trying to make it halfway and soldiering on as best they can to pit around lap 31, 32 to go to the end. And with those limited tyre sets, and you would presume no full course yellows, unless you have a track blocker, as this is the, I think of Jeff Green trying to get past Dylan Havir, and does so very easily into turn number 8. I think these guys now for these last 10 or so laps will just be looking to soldier on towards the halfway mark where they can begin to make their pit stops, as now this big gangle of cars led now by Michael Harsack, as I think we saw a mistake out of Gerald Campbell while we weren't looking. Michael Harsack now leads Joe Francis, but then Gerald Campbell, Richie Hearn and Race Clark making up the top 10 in this 5-car battle that's begun to disperse in the last handful of laps, as I think mistakes again are beginning to be punished heavily here. So I think, Matthew, in this situation, as you mentioned, obviously keeping the car on the track is half the battle when you're driving vehicles as difficult as this on a road course. At this point, are you just soldiering on for these last dozen laps or so and just waiting to be able to make that pit stop?
Yeah, definitely. You're just trying to make it to halfway right now. That's all you want to do. As long as you can not spin out and make it to halfway, and then you'll know that, okay, I need to be a little smoother on the next run. Don't push the corners as hard that next and final run. And to go back on the tire sets, actually they got 2 extra sets in the pits. So if they pit here, you know, in about 10, 12 laps, and we get a caution later on, They have another set. Yeah, I see the 2 sets there, but I looked in the info. There's an extra set there.
Well, that's good. Well, good for them. Definitely, maybe good for us. It could create some well, strategy
Oh,
calls if it transpires that they maybe can't even make it halfway. That could really invoke some interesting
definitely.
strategies. But just seeing Frank Foti and Dustin Haynes through turn 7 on a replay. We'll see if that's another spin for Dustin Haynes. It is. We saw him have some trouble early on, missing a front bumper. And again, it's a rather lazy, miserable self half spin out of turn 7 for Dustin Haynes. Raymond Hanneman catching a big bit of curb there through turn 4 and into turn 5. Just overcooks it a bit. And it steps out on him under braking, and that's heartbreaking. Has to watch everyone go past so as to not unsafely rejoin the track, and that is going to be miserable watching the entire field go past. We saw Race Clark just before we cut to a couple of those replays. He managed to get past Jake Scarborough just coming out of turn 8, and now looks with some fairly decent pace to be catching up to Gerald Campbell. We've not seen many on-track overtakes, as most of the changes in position have been done via mistakes, but just looking at the pace that Race Clark has over Gerald Campbell, especially in these chicane complexes of 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Matthew, obviously, with only 8 corners, overtaking opportunities are few and far between, but where are you looking to try and make those moves? As I think Race Clark might be looking for one into turn 7, fairly heavy braking zone to the inside of the 00 of Gerald Campbell, and very neatly done there into turn 7, Race Clark up into P8. We know that turn 7 is an opportunity to overtake, but where are your other overtaking hotspots, do you think, Matthew?
I feel like turn 8 and turn 1, because you can really outbreak those people there. I feel like the other corners, you just trying to stay on track and hit the right line, like those quick S's, and then turn 6. I feel like you're just trying to hit a distinctive line, so it's hard to pass there. I feel like you can outbreak the other guys in turn 8 and turn 1.
Definitely rewarding bravery on the brakes is the Gateway Road Course. We're nearly halfway through the Bendy Gateway 100 with James Miller now leading fairly significantly over Tyler Foti as Dylan Javier now works his way past Zach Evans with a bold move around the outside into turn 3. Not seeing many overtakes there tonight. Is now looking to follow up on that is Matt Hackathorn down the inside of Zach Evans into turn 5. Becomes the inside for turn 6. Zach Evans, as long as he can hang on, will have the advantageous line, but Dylan Javier not with a great exit out of turn 6. Matt Hackathorn gets 2 for the price of 1, and up 2 spots through turn 7 goes Matt Hackathorn. Dylan Javier struggling as Zach Evans gets back by him. Gavin Higgins gets by him. That is, I think, another AVPW machine there of McAvoy as well. Yes, Jordan McAvoy in the 23 as well, getting past Dylan Javier, so looks to be another driver cooking those tyres and just seemingly unable to get his right foot down now, as the rear tyres rather have become very much overcooked in terms of raw surface temperatures. Now Matt Hackathorn leads a little train here from 13th on back that comprises of Zach Evans, Gavin Higgins and Jordan McAvoy. That's a 4-way fight for P13. Matt Hackathorn looking the fastest of the quartet as he begins to pull away through the technical chicane complexes of 3, 4, 5 and 6. Zach Evans though doing a good job at keeping touch with the ultra long turn 6. We'll see if he has the tyres later on in this stint to potentially try and take back P13. But even while the tyres are degrading quite massively, Matthew, the battles still remain just as fierce.
Oh yeah, definitely. This about 8th to 12th around there, and then 13th to 18th. There's different groups and there's battles all over the track, and James Miller's starting to pull on Tyler Foti. It seems like he saved his tires well this run.
Definitely looks like the best on the long run does the 09 of James Miller, current race leader here for the Bendy Gateway 100. You're seeing a big gaggle of trucks led by Michael Hossack there, actually led by Joe Francis rather, in P6 there. Michael Hossack in hot pursuit, Race Clark, then a little bit of a gap back to Gerald Campbell and Jake Scarborough, as there goes Race Clark lapping Sam Boutwell there in the number 47. That may potentially check up the 00, the 52 and the 73 as well, as Sam Boutwell's a little bit in the way. Can't really do much as a back marker on a narrow technical track such as this, as another challenge of running up front at the Gateway Road Course is sifting through traffic. But you're seeing here now, James Miller has to sift through some traffic of his own as he's got the 04 machine just in front of him. Tyler Foti trying to bear down on him as best he can, but surprisingly, Tyler Foti just doesn't seem to be able to quite get past him as a later Norgard back up into P3. I think Chad Frankenfield might have made a mistake going into turn 1, as Chad Frankenfield has lost a bundle of time there, about a second back to a later Norgard, who has taken back P3. Potentially a surge through the field is on the cards for the driver of the 12, but Chad Frankenfield down to 4th. We'll see again on the Robilus photo replay exactly what happened, as well as we've got the 39 of Randy McAvoy for AVPW again, just getting on the gas out of turn 7, tries to catch it, and that is a precarious place to be stopped there on the entry to turn 8. Caleb Thompson might have had a similar mistake going through turn 7 on the entry. Again, just stepped out on him with no purchase in the tyres. So that was Tyler Foti in P2. That was the leaders filtering past there. James Miller had only just lapped him, and that could have been very, very bad for Tyler Foti, and it still kind of was, as that checked him up quite a bit. He's lost about a second with the interval now sitting at just north of 3 seconds, and that, considering the the kind of rarity of mistakes that we've seen out of James Miller, I think that could potentially bury Tyler Foti's chances of winning, unless, of course, these all-important pit stops that are just starting now, Matthew, throw another spanner in the works, as we're seeing Jake Scarborough come down pit road.
Oh yeah, we're getting closer to halfway, so we're going to start seeing a lot of these guys start peeling off, and I feel like if you pit exactly at halfway, that's probably your best chance. So I can see the leaders pitting right probably around lap 32, 33, right in there. And you just want to get on there good. No, don't speed, no issues, don't slide your box. Get off there nice and smooth, and he will keep the lead if he does that with no issues.
Yeah, definitely. James Miller looking like the quickest truck on the racetrack and at little risk of being undercut. So he can now potentially go long in this first stint, allowing him to have fresher tyres at the end of the latter half of the race, potentially when it matters most, potentially for a late race battle. With Tyler Foti, he is down but not out, as he is just about stabilised that gap to 3 seconds, potentially looking to claw some of it back after being held up by Caleb Thompson there after a spin from the 04. Almost took Tyler Foti out of the race, but he hangs strong in P2. That's Jake Scarborough, just been lapped under the pit stop cycle, as here comes Dylan Javier as well for Lake Norman Motorsports in the 57-second pitter of the evening. This could potentially set off some chain reactions in and around the cars that they were fighting, as they all have to react, because obviously the undercut is, you would imagine, would be very strong with how quickly these tyres have been degrading and just how much faster new tyres are. And I think in the next couple of laps, Matthew, is when pretty much the entire field is going to take to pit road.
Yeah, if you want a shot to gain some spots and keep those spots, you'd want to pit here the next few laps. I think if you wait till about lap 40, I don't think you're going to have enough time to get back what you lost.
Definitely a balancing act of sorts in terms of tyre strategy. Do you want fresher tyres at the end, or do you want track position? Because I think, a bit
did Gerald just lose
there.
his front bumper?
It looked for all the world there like Gerald Campbell almost clipped the
I think he
end
did.
of the pit wall there, and the prediction code decided to be merciful this time, as pushing the limits on the entry going into turn 1. We'll see here on the Robilus photo replay exactly what happened. Gerald Campbell in ultra slow motion.
What?
Didn't quite. That is some wacky
Wild netcode
iRacing. Wow. As he still continued on perfectly fine with a torn off left front and a front bumper completely
and
gone.
it's back on now
on this plane. But as you see, that 00 good as new is Jeff Green, who is actually, he's not on fresh tyres. They're on the same strategy. Jeff Green has made that pass for position, and Gerald Campbell has just come down pit road, as has Matt Gruenberg, long-time leader of this race. Now, Gruenberg was catching Alex Norgard and Chad Frankenfield at a real rate of knots just before this pit stop cycle. You would imagine, as you see Gerald Campbell come down pit road as well as with Zach Evans, that Norgard and Frankenfield could be looking to pit this time.
Definitely. Hopefully they was paying attention and and they'll pit this next time. If they wasn't, they'll lose those spot as well.
Definitely is. Here comes James Miller, race leader in the 09. James Miller taking to pit road. Tyler Foote stays out this time. He'll inherit the lead for the first time tonight. It's not often that it's taken up until halfway through the race for Tyler Foote to lead a lap, but it's lap 33 of 63, and Tyler Foote has just inherited the lead from long-time leader James Miller, who has just taken to pit road as through turns 3 and 4. We now go riding with the 40 of Tyler Foote. I do wonder as he comes through turns 5 and 6 whether he will pit this time in response to the pit call from the 09 of James Miller. You see Michael Harsack just filters through. James Miller's here comes the Leighton Norgard as well. Has the benefit, of course, of that number 1 pit stall. Not as strong of an advantage at road courses, but an advantage nonetheless. Here comes Race Clark as well. Chad Frankenfield could potentially lose out to a Leighton on this particular pit cycle, having stayed out again. Miller has come back into P5, just behind Michael Harsack, just in front of Richie Hearn. Tyler Foote again stays out. He looks to be going long on this particular pit stop cycle. Is it a case, Matthew, of Tyler Foote just doing whatever James Miller doesn't do in order to try and win this race?
I don't think it does. As much as I race Foote on Monday and Wednesday nights and we battle for wins and championships and all, this dude, he always goes long. He wants to be on attack on the tail end of these runs. Attack, tack, tack. He doesn't want to play defense. He's better when he attacks the people.
Well,
or the track. I'm sorry, I messed up my words. The track.
Definitely, Foote on the attack is never something you want to be seeing in your rear view mirror. That is in the rare event that he is in your rear view mirror. But Tyler Foote is still staying out 17 seconds clear of Chad Frankenfield, who I think is adopting a similar strategy. We've seen Tyler Foote do this before last season in the truck series as at Virginia International Raceway. He was fighting Chase Cabry for the win and really built up a big tire advantage on Chase early on and really closed that gap quickly. Is now in. Finally comes Tyler Foote on the end of lap 34. So 3 laps later than James Miller. We'll see the time interval as Foote comes out of his pit box. It was about 2.5 to 3 seconds when they were racing each other for the lead just before the pit stop cycle. Leader Tyler Foote comes into his pit box from P3 on the grid. Chad Frankenfield stays out. He'll lead his first laps of the evening in the 15 for Little Eagle Racing.
I'm surprised Foote pitted there. I figured he would have waited another 3 or 4 more laps. I don't think that the 3 laps are really going to pay dividend late in the run.
I would definitely agree with that. I wonder if he maybe has made a mistake there in terms of kind of going a bit kind of both ways with the strategy, going long but not really going long as such, as he has lost about 6 seconds, I'll tell you what, to James Miller. Such is the advantage of new tyres, as the gap between them now over 10 seconds as James Miller heads through turn number 7, works past Joe Francis, who is on old tyres. James Miller up into second on the racetrack, and James Miller closing the gap in rapidly on Chad Frankenfield, who hasn't pit this time, I don't think. No, he has not, as he leads another lap today, lap 36 of 63. And you'll see 4.5 seconds at the line, you see as they break the turn 1, just how much James Miller is gaining on those new tyres. I think Frankenfield has to pit now, to be honest, if he doesn't want to lose too much to the likes of Leighton Norgard and Matt Gruenberg.
Definitely. He was so far back. What was it, like 16 seconds? You wasn't going to get those guys on, with this pit strategy. Your goal was to race the guys around you. I think he's waiting too long, like he said. He should have pitted when those guys pitted.
Definitely is. Oh! Jaden Racines drops it on the entry to turn 8. That's a fairly hefty whack there for the driver of the 1. That's a bizarre place to lose it. I've never seen someone drop on the entry to turn 8. Potentially that tyre wear that we've mentioned.
I'm hearing he said he accidentally shifted.
More precarious.
Oh.
Accidentally shifted into first.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, no, that's a third gear corner. You don't want to be shifting into first. That would explain it. He's lucky he didn't blow his engine as finally Chad Frankenfield bites the bullet. He's the last car to pit, and we'll see just exactly where that puts him among the pecking order. He currently runs in P3. Joe Francis has just overtaken him. He is actually still staying out. So Joe Francis, the last car to pit as well. I think Gavin Higgins as well is among those drivers as well. Norgard just gets past him. Chad Frankenfield, fourth on the racetrack. We'll see where Grunberg and Norgard is. They've just overtaken him now, and Chad Frankenfield still stationary in his pit box. He's been passed by Gavin Higgins. Frankenfield might potentially lose out to Jake Scarborough as well, and Race Clark, maybe even Gerald Campbell. I don't think this strategy's gone at all well for Frankenfielders. They're going to come out right on top of each other. Frankenfield just about stays ahead of Jake Scarborough coming out of the pits, but James Miller now with a 4-second advantage over Joe Francis, a 9-second advantage over Tyler Foti. This is definitely, in my opinion, Matthew, Miller's race to lose.
Oh, definitely. Right now it's all about just being consistent, lap times, no mistakes, because you got a big enough lead. I mean, you don't want to push your truck too much right here.
Yeah, it's the thing. Obviously, James Miller with that advantage does have the breathing space to not push those tyres too hard, potentially let the likes of Tyler Foti get up to the back of him if it means that he will then have fresher tyres to actually defend his position when the time comes, such as the luxury of having a massive advantage from those pit cycles. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how that develops, but we're now just over halfway through the Bendy Gateway 100 at the World Wide Technology Raceway infield road course. It's lap 38 of 63. James Miller looking to take his first ever Elite Racing League win, leads by 5 seconds over Joe Francis and by 8 seconds over Tyler Foti. We'll be back shortly after our esteemed producer David Huckleberry will take us through some sponsories to thank our amazing partners on the Elite Racing Network.
The Bommarito Automotive Group 500 at World Wide Technology Raceway is not just a race, it's a spectacle. Friday, August 16th and Saturday, August 17th. The race everyone talks about. The Bommarito Automotive Group 500, only at World Wide Technology Raceway. Go to WWTRaceway.com now, because the first deal is the best deal. Brought to you in part by the Illinois Office of Tourism and Discover Downstate Illinois.
All right, we're back. You're watching the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series. Stay Tuned Sports was started in 2016 by two friends, even though hating each other's teams, with the purpose of producing a sports show like no other. They wanted to create a show that would cover all major sports with a little bit of comedy mixed in. Stay Tuned Sports releases weekly episodes covering NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball, and even some college football. So if you're looking for some hot takes mixed in with some good ball busting, this is the show for you. Stay Tuned Sports, your home for sports nonsense. Our premier sponsors are Blue Egg Marketing. Rev up your business with Blue Egg, your marketing pit crew. Turbocharge your lead generation with experienced drivers that can navigate the competitive track to connecting your customers. With Blue Egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with Blue Egg. Fuel small businesses to win big. 4D Racewear is new to our premier sponsor list this year. Makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 4D sim racing shoes are custom engineered to connect racers to the pedals in no other way. Racing shoe that can provide all the comfort needed for those double and triple stints. Visit 4dracewear.com and check out the original racing gloves for your feet. Finally, Worldwide Technology Raceway, which is hosting our race tonight. It's a motorsport racing facility in Madison, Illinois, just east of St. Louis, Missouri. Features a 1.25-mile oval that hosts the NASCAR Cup Series, NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and the NTT IndyCar Series. They have a 2-mile infield road course used by Speed Tour, Trans Am, SCCA, and the Porsche Club of America, which incidentally is not the course we're running tonight. The one on iRacing is the old Gateway Road course. It's actually a little shorter. There is a quarter-mile NHRA sanctioned drag strip that hosts the annual NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series Midwest Nationals event. And finally, they have the Kartplex, a state-of-the-art karting facility. That's our sponsors tonight, guys.
Thanking all our premier partners and sponsors on the Elite Racing Network. And I'll tell you what, we've had some calamity while David Huckleberry was doing those sponsor reads. We saw Matt Telder facing the complete wrong way right in the middle of turn 1 as everyone came flying past him. You see, I imagine he's just dropped it, got a bit late on the brakes. The rears have decided, no, you're going around us. Oh! I thought that'll be wise. Connor Thompson and Seth Rawls got into each other. There's Matt Telder facing the wrong way, and there comes the entire field, including leader James Miller, flying through at about Mark 10 there. That could have ended absolutely terribly. Good job for all those guys for managing to filter through and not cause a massive accident. That's about the closest we've come to a full course caution all night long, as you see there, Austin and Abnett, as well as I think Gavin Higgins just got into the back there of leader James Miller, as I think Gavin Higgins on some fresher tyres now trying to unlap himself. And this really doesn't spell good news for James Miller, as he's not had the smoothest of finals. It's not of his own doing, as he's being fought by lap traffic and getting, you know, he's coming up on incidents just as they start, as Higgins still hanging on the outside of James Miller, and all the while, even through those sponsor reads, that gap between Miller and Foti has come down already to less than what it was at the start, and there's still 20 laps to go, Matthew. You see, look at the time intervals there. Foti gaining as much as 2 seconds a lap on Miller with those fresher tyres. We were skeptical about the pit strategy from Tyler Foti, but we know that this is when he is absolutely in his element, when he is on the attack, chasing down a gap. James Miller, 4.5 seconds with a small mistake from Foti, but he's not out of the running at all just yet, Matthew. But I think this could be a bit of a pressure point for James Miller.
Oh man, Foti is running some quick times, catching him, but James is having a hard time with lap traffic. He's been struggling even before the pit cycle. Before they pitted, he was having trouble getting around some lap trucks. It seems that is his Achilles heel right now, and Foti is just chipping away little by little. Well, big right now. He's been gaining, what, a second here and there, half a second. If it continues like this, he'll be there by the end of the race.
I'll tell you what, he's not been nibbling at that gap. He's been taking Illinois-sized bites out of it.
Ooh.
He's been chomping away at that time interval, despite that little mistake, that little anomaly there you see in the graphic. You see 9/10, nearly 2 seconds, a second and a half, and a second again. And already, you see the gap was already back down to under 2 seconds, as he's got, James Miller, he's got Caleb Pacuma and Gavin Higgins fighting in front of him. They're single file now, but that has really not helped James Miller at all in terms of both turbulent air as well as just having to account for those cars in front of him. And through turn 8 we go now. It will be 19 laps to go when we get to the stripe. And honestly, this is still, I think, James Miller's race to lose, but it's going to be a lot harder for him now when Tyler Foti does get to the back of that 09. We are going to have a titanic battle on our hands.
Oh, definitely. And he's still, now that the lap trucks have finally got by him and got a little gap, oh, he's catching them back now. He's having such a hard time getting by these two trucks. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't a Cucumber a Lake Norman truck too?
Yeah, most certainly is. Caleb Pacuma racing under the Lake Norman Motorsports banner, mentored essentially by Tyler Foti. And I don't know if that's under team orders, but I tell you what, Caleb Pacuma is really going to be frustrating James Miller there with just how much he's holding up. Oh, he's out of the way now. There's David Huckleberry, I think, as Caleb Pacuma goes spinning off at turn 7 there. And leader James Miller now has a big wad of clean air in front of him. But there you see the gap visibly so much smaller now, as Tyler Foti less than 2 seconds behind James Miller, the 09 and the 40. It's Miller trying to take his first ever Elite Racing League win. He's got a 7-time champion bearing down on him, looking, smelling blood in that 09 machine. Matt Grunberg, 13 seconds behind. Nowhere to be seen in the rear view of the number 40. Is all eyes forward for 7-time as he looks to take yet another victory in the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series and cruelly deny James Miller his first, as again Miller coming up on more lap traffic and this could potentially be where his time advantage completely unravels.
Oh, definitely. It's like I said before. It's like every time he gets to these lap trucks, he just starts losing more time, and you can't do that. You have the best guy in the league chasing you down. Like there's no pressure at all, man. You got to hit your mark. You got to be good. You got to get by these lap trucks so you can start gaining on time on Fody right now.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to wait and see as James Miller still stuck behind the 36 of, if it's Donald Kite, if I remember correctly. All these new guys with their new numbers and all that stuff. Hard to remember in these early stages, but we'll get used to it. James Miller does make his way past the 36. Yes, that is Donald Kite. He's now got Andrew Hardcastle right in front of him. Andrew Hardcastle does get nicely out of the way there, going into turn 5 there. I'm sure James Miller will be very appreciative of that. But just look at the gap now as Tyler Foti gets past Kite, was in the process of getting past Andrew Hardcastle, now does get past the 22. The gap now just over 1 second as they head through turn number 7. The pressure piling on the 09 as the 40 really is he's now kind of the one with the race to lose here, as he has such greater pace. But of course, as is the old adage in motor racing, it's one thing to catch, it's another thing to overtake.
Oh, definitely. It's that's the hardest thing to do, is once you get to them is to pass them, because no one's going to make it easy, especially for the win.
Yeah, James Miller trying to take his first ever Elite Racing League victory. Tyler Foti trying to take his 74th win in the Elite Racing League. We'll see who comes out on top in this massive scrap with 16 laps to go. The 09 of James Miller still leads, but look at how Tyler Foti bearing down on him through the turn 5 and 6 chicane. James Miller catching back up to the back marker of Gavin Higgins in the 20. Does Higgins move out of the way, or does he resist the fight? We'll have to wait and see. Through turn 7, he doesn't budge this time. All the while, that's allowing Foti to just get closer and closer and closer. The gap now heading towards 0.5 of a second through turn 8. 15 laps for Tyler Foti to make that all-important move. But honestly, it could be more external factors out of his control that could potentially lose this race for James Miller. He's still stuck behind Gavin Higgins.
Oh yeah, Gavin Higgins is putting up the fight to stay on the lead lap, man. He's hoping and praying we get this caution. He's hoping 2 trucks wreck right now.
Definitely scratching and clawing for everything he's got. Is Gavin Higgins currently running in 17th? He's the last car on the lead lap. Does not want to go a lap down if he can at all help it. But James Miller now looks to the left-hand side. The outside now for turn number 6. Here comes Tyler Foti. He's there. He's looking to the inside of the 09 as he takes a wider line through turn 6. Out of turn 6 we go. Gavin Higgins now to driver's right on James Miller. Does he choose to continue to interfere? He doesn't. Well out of the way. Gets the 20. He finally surrenders as he sees the leaders now officially fighting in front of him. The 20 obviously will not make that move to the inside of the 40s. He did have a bit of a run. Tyler Foti with a slight wheel spin off of turn number 7, but now through turn 8. It is all to play for with 14 to go. Clear air. It's advantage Tyler Foti on tyres. It's advantage James Miller with track position. 14 to go. Do not go anywhere. This is going to get wild as they head into turn 1. James Miller still holding smooth and holding strong, but Tyler Foti has such better tyres, such better pace with that fresher rubber underneath the number 40 Chevrolet. This is the point where it becomes much more of a mental game than it does one of skill behind the wheel, as to resist that type of pressure from such an illustrious driver in this league is dang near impossible, as the 9 of James Miller has a monumental task ahead of him to try and keep Tyler Foti behind him.
Definitely, and it's the hardest thing. Like I said, you know, I've raced Foti for so long, and to keep him behind you and try to keep yourself in the lead to win the race is one of the hardest things to do, because he's a monster, man. He's a wheelman. He's good. He's really good at driving these cars, man. He's so talented at it. That's why he, you know, you said a 7-time champion in the series. What, 80? I think 70, 80 wins in the league. He's an animal, man.
Yeah, he has won so many races, so many championships. By far the most decorated drivers in the entire league. You think of other decorated names, Tate Light, obviously yourself, Matthew, Ethan Burrell as well. other hugely decorated names, but Tyler Foti is just so naturally talented, so naturally gifted, and you have to be on your absolute A game to beat him, even when Tyler Foti is on an off day. But now James Miller absolutely in the hot seat as he's managing to pull away just a little bit. Look at that last interval there. Now nearly 3/4 of a second. James Miller just slightly quicker this time, but you see on that 50, Tyler Foti lost 3/10 to James Miller. We mentioned it's one thing to catch, one thing to pass. James Miller might just have enough to keep Tyler Foti behind him, but it will not be easy as there is now just a baker's dozen laps to go. 12 to go at World Wide Technology Raceway for the Bendy Gateway 100, and Tyler Foti still piling on the pressure. James Miller trying with everything he's got to keep the 40 behind him.
Yeah, it seems like these tires have finally evened up a little bit. Foti might have a little bit of advantage, but I think he probably kind of got him overheated a little bit, trying to drive through traffic, driving hard, catching them. And like you said, it's a totally different thing trying to pass someone once you catch them.
As the battle for the lead continues to heat up, we are focusing on other scraps further behind them. This is Race Clark and Joe Francis going at it for P6 there. Joe Francis, the chasing car there, and the number 35 numbers by Joe Machine in the number 35 entry for Shift D Sports there. To turn 1 we go. Joe Francis with a wheel in the grass there, coming out of turn 2 into turns 3 and 4 we go. Race Clark with a big bit of curb there through turn 4. We'll see if Joe Francis can get the better of him through turns 5 and 6, as exit momentum is one of the best tools you have at your disposal for trying to overtake on a road course in cars such as this, as Joe Francis continues to pile on the pressure but doesn't quite have the real estate, doesn't quite have the momentum to make a move just yet. As 11 to go, it will be 10 to go at the stripe. Tyler Foti continues to pile on the pressure. It's just under half a second now. He's breaking that proverbial bubble as he's as close to 3/10 as they come through turn 6. James Miller just has to try and keep the exit speed up to try and keep Tyler Foti at bay. He does well through turn 6 and into turn 7 we go now, trying to roll the corner as best he can. Get on that loud pedal as soon as he can. He has Foti just slightly beat on the exit, just to the tune of a couple hundredths of a second through turn 8 now. James Miller, he's definitely a big disadvantage in terms of tyres and pace, but ultimately, he is the leading car. He does hold the cards and is able to keep his momentum up well enough in the corners to just hold Tyler Foti off.
Yeah, he's running a pretty good line. Foti, you can tell Foti has a lot, not a lot, but a little better tires the way he's attacking the entry of these corners. And we're coming up on more lap traffic. This is going to play a role right here. Can Miller get by these lap trucks fast enough so Foti doesn't get him? Because Foti's trying to push him into a mistake like he done Grunberg earlier in the race. He pushed him into a mistake in this exact corner, made him go off the track a little bit. So Foti's just trying to pile that pressure and get him to do the same thing.
Well, I'll tell you what, this exchange of back marker traffic has really played into the hands of James Miller, as Tyler Foti got somewhat stuck on the outside of, I believe that's Jordan McAvoy in the 23, and that has let James Miller build up just a little bit of a gap now to the tune of 3/4 of a second between those two drivers, as now Miller comes up on the 57 of Dylan Avere, a Lake Norman Motorsports teammate of Tyler Foti's. Does he play the team game? Does he do a Sergio Perez at Abu Dhabi and begin to hold up James Miller in the best interest of his team owner Tyler Foti? He goes a little bit of it with the defensive line into turn 1, I think he is the 57 holding up James Miller just a bit, and that is bringing Tyler Foti right back into it. Dylan Avere not going to give it up, chops the nose off the 09 as he looks for a move into turn 3. Now into turn 4, James Miller is going to start getting very frustrated behind the 57 very, very quickly. And that could bring the 40 right into it. It's the 57. Goes off track. I don't know if it was contact with the 09. He manages to save it through turn 6. But now, as again, Dylan Avere continues to slide. They're both clear again. Tyler Foti now right on the back bumper of James Miller. Just 8 laps to go now. Does Tyler Foti begin to use the bumper if he can get there?
Yeah. After you just seen what he did to your teammate, yeah, he probably would. But to be honest with you, if I was in Miller's shoes, I would have done the same thing. It's like we're within 10 to go. Your teammate's right here. We're racing for a win, man. Let us go. Let us battle for the dub. And so I would have done the same thing as Miller did right there.
I would probably agree. I would also probably have just shoved Javier right out of the way if I were James Miller. But of course, Tyler Footy's not going to let that happen to his teammates, and certainly not his mentees, as you know, Tyler Footy obviously mentoring those guys. And who better to learn from than a 7-time league champion? Tyler Footy still all over the back of James Miller as they head through turn 6. Tyler Footy's not quite getting the exit speeds that he needs to really set up the passes. James Miller doing a good job at really defending his position. Tyler Footy caught him at a real rate of knots, but now as yet another Lake Norman driver, it finds himself in front of James Miller. Tyler Footy chucking his teammates at James Miller almost like obstacles, a la total wipeout. As 7 to go, James Miller has got to get past yet another backmarker donning the colours of Lake Norman Motorsports. But of course, time running out for Tyler Footy to make that all-important move. James Miller still holding on by threads here. 7 to go at Gateway.
Oh, this is going to be a struggle. You can't catch him at the wrong time. You got to get him at the right time. Oh, he let him go. What a guy, man. Mad respect right there. That's what you should do. You know, within 10 to go. Let these guys battle it out. You're not going to gain nothing where you're at, so just let them go, man. Good stuff.
That is what we like to see in sim racing. Probably not what Tyler Footy might have wanted him to do. I'm sure he wouldn't have minded a bit of brake checking, a bit of slowing up in the middle of the corners, but alas, Austin and Abnett gets rather sportsmanly out of Miller's and Footy's ways there, as now with just 6 laps to go, the gap 6/10 of a second. James Miller, as we've mentioned, trying to get that first win in the Elite Racing League and is holding on just about. He's got one of the best drivers on the service hounding him every step of the way, and not a single misstep from the 09. He has shown that he can absorb pressure like no other tonight, and he's only got to do it for 6 more circulations before he gets his first win.
Yeah, it just seems like he struggles with the lap trucks. That's when Fody really gets him. Once he gets him a little bit of clear track and he can run his line, he seems to gain on Fody a little bit. So all he's hoping for is like, let me get by this, let me catch this truck, and hopefully he lets me by so I can just put down some times and make this gap bigger.
Definitely needs to prioritize smoothness now, as these tyres, again, as they did in the first stint, getting very, very worn out. Although we have not seen nearly as many self-spins or mistakes out of really any of these drivers in this second stint. I think they've all learned from the first stint just how quickly the rubber degrades and how quickly the grip levels do deteriorate, as James Miller again just ekes out a couple hundredths on Tyler Footy this time by, as now he leads with 5 laps to go. It's just ahead of him is the 32 of Dustin Dewar. Will he put up a fight trying to keep James Miller behind him, as into turns 3 and 4 we go? Miller to the inside of Dustin Dewar. I think Dewar put a wheel in the grass there. We'll see if Footy has just an easy time of getting past the 32, and he does. Dustin Dewar gets nicely out of the way of our leaders with just 4.5 laps to go. Connor Thompson next on the proverbial lapped list for James Miller, and Connor Thompson there to the outside. It gets nicely out of the way of both the leads, very sportsmanly from the 30 as well, and that plays right into the hands of James Miller, as the less interruptions the better for the 09, as he seems like once he gets in that clean air, once he can get back into that rhythm, he seems absolutely unstoppable, even withstanding that pressure from the 40 behind him. As now Matthew, he's just got 4 laps to go to hold off Tyler Footy.
Yeah, just don't overdrive the corners, man. Don't let the GOAT of Elite, make you make a mistake, man. Just be good with, like you've been all race long. Just keep doing what you're doing.
He's most certainly had the measure of the field all night long in terms of long run pace, with really only Matt Grunberg and Tyler Footy able to touch him. Leighton Norgard definitely had the pace, but fizzled out early doors with some mistakes and some overheating of the tyres. Now lies back in position number 4, but not a bad run by any means. James Miller, though, has definitely risen to the challenge here, with still leading the race with 4 laps to go. They're coming to 3 to go. This time by the laps do tick off quickly at Gateway, as there are still only just over 60 seconds long, one of the shortest road courses that Elite has ever gone to, as it is officially 3 laps to go. We are one more circulation away from cracking open the freezer and bringing up the popsicle sticks. That is the signal for 2 to go for these drivers. As into turn 1 we go. James Miller, not overdriving, has a nice smooth line, rolls the corner nicely, conserves that momentum, and is nice and easy with his right foot. No spinning whatsoever. Tyler Footy's back end does kick out a bit, but still with a good exit out of turn 2, does gain a bit of time. James Miller, I don't think, has made a single mistake all night long, and he has benefited from it despite the immense pressure he is getting from Tyler Footy. He is absolutely held strong, even with all these lap cars and Tyler Footy potentially getting the openings. He is still held strong as he's coming to 2 laps to go. Another back marker out of the way for our leaders. There's Gerald Campbell as well, they see there in P8 as well. But now we're cracking open the freezer momentarily. It'll be 2 laps to go here at Gateway for the Bendy Gateway 100, and still 6/10 of a lead. The gap has very much stabilised between Miller and Footy. I think James Miller just has to hold on. Keep it on the tarmac. Don't bin it in the grass. Don't bin it in the wall. And make sure that you don't make a single mistake for the rest of this race. And I think the 09 will be just about home free.
Oh yeah, man, he doing good. Just no mistakes. Hopefully, when you catch Jeff Green here, you know Jeff Green's a real classy guy. He'll let the leaders go and battle this out. But I think we got to the point, if you remember right, that first long run, Miller was way better towards the end of that. So at the end of this run, where Fody pitted later, I think their tires are even now, since he was the better on the tires. And I think that's why he has the advantage right now on Fody.
Definitely, a lot like for all the world, but especially when you had that first part of the second pit cycle that potentially Footy might just get to him and blaze by him, but that has not been the case, as they very much equalised as Footy got to his back bumper. But we are now on the final lap. This race is official here at World Wide Technology Raceway. It's James Miller chasing his first win. It's Tyler Footy chasing his 74th in the Elite Racing League, as James Miller smooth and steady through turns 1 and 2. Jeff Green just ahead of him. He is a lap down. Will he prove to be a factor in this fight for the lead through turns 3 and 4? Smooth from the 09 through turns 5 and 6. It's a similar story. Tyler Footy's going to throw the kitchen sink at him to try and get that position, but I don't think it's going to quite be enough unless there's a catastrophe in these final 2 corners. Jeff Green, I don't think will prove to be too much of a factor through turn 7. Tyler Footy not close enough to make the move, and now onto the back straight, leading into NASCAR turn 3, turn 8 on the road course. James Miller, in just his second start in the Elite Racing League Truck Series, comes through turn 8 for the final time, and for the first time in his career, James Miller, after Tyler Footy threw everything at him tonight, James Miller wins the Bendy Gateway 100 at the Gateway Road Course. It's his first win in the Elite Racing League, and it is thoroughly deserved there.
What a drive, man, by Miller to win that. And to win the race against Fody like that, you know what it reminds me when Kyle Busch used to go to the Truck Series and Xfinity back in the day, and all these new guys moving up, and you know that you had to go out to that track and you had to beat Kyle Busch to put your name up there and be like, hey, you know, look at me, I'm a new guy. That's what it seems like. And this new team, AV, 2 podiums last week, come out here this week with the win. This team is here to make noise in Elite.
Definitely a driver making waves in the Truck Series and potentially in the higher series for many seasons to come. James Miller, with what we would presume to be the first of many victories in the Elite Racing League, gathers congratulations from his AVPW teammate Jordan McAvoy, as well as Randy McAvoy in the number 39 machine. It's a first win in just their second voyage in the Elite Racing Truck Series for AVPW. Race Clark and Brady Smith shared the podium on their maiden voyage at Daytona. They now go one better, with James Miller taking his first ever race win, and it is thoroughly deserved, withstanding huge pressure from one of Elite's very best. As he now comes through turn 8 on his cool down lap while everyone takes to the pit lane to consult their virtual pit crews. It is James Miller that will park it on the front straight and give the fans his first ever victory burnout, and he will celebrate in victory lane with his teammates and with his crew as Matt Grunberg as well comes along to congratulate the driver of the 09. Can't remember the last time we've had a foreign-born winner in the Elite Racing NASCAR series, but a driver from Canada has just taken the checkered flag here at the Gateway Road Course, and the donuts will soon ensue. It's a first race victory for James Miller.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think the last foreign guy to win in the stock car side was our very own Robert Hill at Road America, I think it was.
I've been quite some time ago for sure. Hopefully, I'll have my list of the name of foreign winners.
A long time ago.
Monday. A long time ago. Yeah, Robert's washed now. Who says that? But James Miller burning it down on the front straight and deservedly so. Gonna do another victory lap. Why not? Very much deserved. But you see our upcoming broadcast there on your left-hand side. We'll see the Belly Up Sports Cup Series heads to Legacy, Texas on Wednesday, August the 14th there. That should be an interesting race. The Warriors for Peace IndyCar Series heads to its first road course on Thursday, August 15th. It's the Twin Ring Motegi Grand Prix circuit as well. As we mentioned, the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series. This time in 2 weeks' time, August 25th, we head to Darlington Raceway. And for the Mark Robalis Grand National Series, that's tomorrow night. We're at Michigan. As for your race results for the Bendy Gateway 100, James Miller takes his first Elite Racing League win by just over a second over Tyler Foote. Matt Gruenberg comes back to complete the podium. Aleti Norgard from pole comes back to P4. Chad Frankenfield rounds out the top 5 with P6 there, belonging to Joe Francis, and Race Clark there in position number 7. The 00 of Gerald Campbell. Michael Harsack in the 24 makes P9 with Zach Evans with a strong top 10. Matt Hackathorn in P11 and Richie Hearn in P12 rounds out everyone that finished on the lead lap. Jeff Green just got lapped there just at the death there. He finishes P13. Jordan McAvoy in the 23 in P14. Gavin Higgins, Dylan Javier, Jake Scarborough and Frank Foti from 15th down to 18th all finished 1 lap down. Looking towards the rest of your drivers momentarily from 19th on back. They see Seth Rules there in the 19th for Shift Esports. Dustin Dewar rounds out the top 20. Connor Thompson as well. Now moving to Shift Esports in 21st. Donald Kite there in 22nd. Caleb Puma in 23rd. Josh Adams in 24th. Raymond Hanneman 25th. Andrew Hardcastle for Evan Motorsports 26th. Sam Boutwell 27th. Austin Inabnet 28th. Randy McAvoy and Brent Jones round out the top 13. As for everyone who didn't see the checker flag, it's Dustin Haynes, Matt Telder, Jaden Racimus, Jesse Racimus, Caleb Thompson, Cody McCorkle, Hector Colazzo, Zachary Trevino, Chris Wright, and Mitchell Javier rounding out your top 40. But now, Matthew, we've got a couple drivers in the waiting room, namely James Miller and Matt Gruenberg. We are waiting for 7-time Tyler Foti, who is now in the waiting room now. But Matt Gruenberg, you led for a little while. Come home P3 after we didn't catch on the live stream. I assume it was just a little mistake that let Leighton and Chad pass you. But overall, how do you sum up that night with the first podium in the series?
Yeah, we wanted more tonight. P3, kind of disappointing with the speed that we had. Just made a slight mistake into one there. Didn't downshift when I needed to. Missed the downshift, so ultimately chose to save the car, which gave us about a 16-second gap to the leaders at that point. So at that point, it was just pit, and then I just kind of saved the tires on the second run in case there happened to be a yellow. Catch back up.
Of course, Matt, definitely a good omen regardless for a first podium in the series. Obviously, we're heading back to an oval in a couple of weeks' time at Darlington Raceway. Definitely one of the more tricky ovals on the service. How do you rate your chances of running well in that race?
Well, it's an oval, so that's already a lot better for me. Not really a road guy, but um, I'll turn right when I have to, I guess. So looking forward to Darlington. Usually run pretty well there as long as I can stay out of any other messes that happen on track and keep the car clean. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, any partners or our sponsors you want to thank for getting that 17 up onto the podium again, Matt?
Yep, wanted to thank Premier Racing Setups. Use code Grunberg15 and get 15% off any setups at the setup shop. I race for the Legend Car team, and I can vouch that those setups are super fast. So if you want to give them a try out, again, Grunberg15, I'll get you 15% off. And shout out to the Team AV guys and James Miller for getting the first win of the season for us. Would like to have been us in victory lane, but glad it was a teammate, James Miller.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Matt, and congratulations on that P3 again.
Thank you.
So that was the 17 third place finisher, Matt Gruenberg, but now joined by fellow Cup Series champion, Matthew Weeks. Tyler Foti comes home in P2.
Fody, I sat there and questioned your long run when you went a couple laps, like 3 laps longer, and I'm sitting there like, why didn't you go longer? Because you always do that. So what made you wait, 3 laps after him to pit?
Yeah, I wanted to go a lot longer than that. Honestly, I wanted to get like 5, maybe 6, 7 laps. But and he was smart for doing it too. We were catching a big, like 4 or 5 lappers, and he went in right before he got to him, and I was like, sweet, I'll get a few laps extra on him. And I think it was like the 3rd lap that I was out there after him. I was right to the back of all the lappers, and yeah, I couldn't afford to lose seconds a lap trying to ride and get by those guys. So it kind of forced me to come in a little early. And I mean, I still got to him, but he was just so good the last 10, 15 laps, keeping the tires under him. That like I got there, and then right at the end, the tires were gone again. So I needed a little bit more of an advantage there, and maybe something would have happened, but man, props to him. I'm in like a puddle of my own sweat right now. It's kind of nasty. He had me working, so props to him.
Yeah, man, we seen you drive the crap out of that truck, man. I think you come out of pit road, you're like 9 seconds back, and you drove up there. Seems like he was struggling with the lap traffic. You were a little better. So I was going to ask you if you could have done anything different, but like you said, there's not much, man. He was running well, really smooth hitting his lines. Good job on P2, man. And are you going to be racing Darlington next week? Any thoughts on that? Or 2 weeks from now, I think it is.
Yeah, I always I don't like to run too many of these truck races, but I do enjoy the truck. So I always kind of pick 3 or 4 races of the regular season because I avoid the playoffs altogether. I pick 3 or 4 regular season races to kind of run that I think would be cool. The league has never run here before, so this was kind of neat. And I can't remember the last time I did a truck at Darlington, so I'll be at that one, and then probably off for a good bit. I think they run Dega, so I'll probably do that one, and maybe if there's another road course, but that should be about it.
All right, man. Well, it's a joy watching you get out there wheeling it, man. We battle on a weekly basis, so I enjoy, watching you do your thing. Any shout outs you want to give before you head out tonight?
Yeah, just the Lake Norman guys there. It's a fairly green roster we got going on here. Pretty much everyone from ARCA. They're trying to get used to the league and everything and running up in trucks now. So I know they did not have a fun time at all running this place, but shout out to all the guys for giving it their best shot there. So yeah, those guys, Jonathan Cutlip with JD Designs, obviously you know him for painting all of our schemes. He does a great job. Definitely one of the best in the league. And then you guys here for putting on the show up in the booth.
All right, man. Well, good run tonight again. I thought you had them, but you have yourself a good night.
Yeah. You too.
So that was Tyler Foote finishing in second place. But now, joining me up in victory lane, James Miller in the 09. You had a 7-time elite champion on your backside for the last third of that race, and you held on brilliantly. How was that final third of the race when you had Tyler Foote bearing down on you?
I'm my bad. I was not aware of Mr. Fode's title there. Damn, I probably, if I knew that, I would have had more pressure. But it wasn't bad. That lap traffic was really starting to irritate me. I'll be honest. That was probably the hardest part of that whole battle.
Yeah, we could tell from the booth that they were making it hard on you, and you were getting very aggravated with them.
Yeah, I was trying my best to be patient and like, oh, they'll sort it out, and I'm just watching my lead just dwindle. I'm like, oh no. I was pretty sure I was doing my best Ryan Blaney in that truck, but
Odie has a lot
I
of
do have a.
teammates.
Oh yeah, he does. I do have a question for you though. Compare
Yeah.
this last week and this week. You guys are a whole new team coming into the lead. You got 2 guys finish on the podium last week. I think it was second and third. And then y'all come out here the following week at a road course and pretty much led the entire race with 2 trucks. Put you in victory lane, your teammate in third. Where did y'all come from?
We've been we've been around take a bit of a break from different leagues, but just a group of friends, just enjoy racing, and finally back in a big league. Nice. I've never been in such a high car count league, to the point where I've never not made a race, and I didn't even get to race Daytona. So really glad that I was able to do this race.
I can tell you this because I run Monday and Wednesday nights. This is probably competition-wise is the best league you can race in. These guys are top notch, man. And you come out here to the trucks to race Fody, who I race all the time for wins and champion. That dude is a wheel man, and to come out here and outrun him like you did, man. Good stuff tonight, man. Huge props, mad respect for you for doing that. That was good stuff.
I appreciate it.
Of course, one last thing before we let you go, James, and go celebrate with your team. Anyone you want to shout out for getting the 09 into victory lane for what will be the first of, I assume, many, many times in the league?
I hope so. Just thanks to everyone on the team. I know Uncle Randy and Jordan been helping with practice, putting up practices, just running laps, and shout out to everyone on their finishing positions. Thanks to them, and glad we could get it done.
Well, congratulations again on that first ever win, James, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
So that concludes our post-race interviews for round 2 of the Save Team Sports Truck Series in 2024B. The Bendy Gateway 100 has concluded. James Miller comes out on top in his very first start in the series and beating none other than Tyler Foote in a straight up dash to the flag. Matthew Weeks, your final thoughts?
A good race. I like seeing these new guys come in and wheel these trucks around and get these wins. It's cool to see new guys and new teams really come out and do things like this. I always like to see stuff like that. And I can't wait for Darlington. That is my favorite track. I love that track. I can't wait to be in your booth with you to do that and watch some good racing.
That was definitely a fun outing here in virtual Madison, Illinois. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time in virtual Darlington, South Carolina for the third round of the championship. But for now, from all our premier partners of the Elite Racing League and the Elite Racing Network, from myself, William White, from David Huckleberry, up in the production booth, as well as my assistant and co-caster for the evening, Matthew Weeks. We hope you have thoroughly enjoyed your evenings helping of racing action. We hope to see you on all our Elite Racing Network broadcasts, all from Sunday through to Thursday. Thank you so very much for watching. We hope to see you around. We'll see you at the checkered flag, and good night.